get going. Okay, so it's now just about 10:04. So why don't we go ahead and get uh, get the show on the road. Good morning, welcome everyone. My name is Greg McCormick. I'm the City of Kennewick's Community Planning Director, and welcome to our first ever virtual developers forum. It's been a while since we've had a chance to meet as a group, and unfortunately we can't meet face to face and have lunch like we've traditionally done in the past, but I guess this is the next best thing. Anthony, would you mind going to the next slide? So here's our virtual lunch to go along with our virtual meeting this morning. Hopefully you'll have something to snack on during the presentation, but just a couple of logistical things before we get into the meeting itself. First of all, there should be a raise your hand icon down at the bottom, very bottom of your screen. If you have any questions or have a question, please raise your virtual hand, and we'll be scanning back and forth amongst the attendees to see if there are any questions. Have some patience, if you would. What we'll need to do is identify that, and then we'll have to unmute the person for the question. So if you don't see a hand raising icon down at the bottom, there are two ways to, or for PCs, there's a way to use your keyboard, and that's to hit Alt Y, so the Alt key and the Y key at the same time, and that should raise your virtual hand. If you're on a Mac, then you would hit the Option button along with the Y, and that should raise your hand to be identified for a question. So with that, I think we'll get into the city manager's welcome, and maybe if you go to the next slide, Anthony, we'll have the agenda up, and I'll turn it over to City Manager Marie Mosley.
Thank you, Greg. My name is Marie Mosley. I'm the city manager. For those of you who I haven't had an opportunity to meet, most of you, I'm sure I have had that opportunity. So first of all, I just wanted to thank you on behalf of all the staff and city council here at the city of Kennewick. I want to thank you for taking time out of your day today to join us for, as Greg said, the first virtual developer forum that we've had. We've delayed having these developer forums this past year in hopes that we'd be able to meet in person, but as Greg also said, unfortunately that didn't happen. We very much appreciate each and every one of you and the partnership that you have with the city of Kennewick. We really value that partnership. As you know, because most of you have attended these in the past, the developer forums are really an opportunity for you to hear from us about some of the changes that have already occurred or we are considering and maybe proposing to the City Council. And more importantly, we really want to hear from you. We value your feedback, your questions, your comments, and we want to hear from you what is important to you so that you can be successful working in partnership with the City of Kennewick. We have many staff that are here with us on this virtual meeting today. Some of them will be presenting information, and some are also just here to hear and answer any questions that you may have and listen to any suggestions that you may have. So I really encourage you to take this opportunity to ask questions, bring your suggestions forward. I realize the virtual forum is a little awkward, but we hope we can get through this and still have good discussion. As Greg said, there's a way to raise your hand, and we'll be monitoring that and hoping to be able to have a virtual discussion back and forth. So thank you again for choosing to do business in the City of Kennewick. We truly value the partnership with you. We're anxious to hear from you. We wish we could see you in person, but look forward to hopefully soon when we can see you in person. So with that, I will go ahead and turn it back over to Greg or to Tony. I know you're next on the agenda, so thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Marie. So this is our agenda today. Energy code update. Tony Estoya, our building official, will be providing that Shoreline Master Program update. Anthony Muwai, the planning manager for the city, will be providing a quick update there. We're getting a new permit software package in the city. So Anthony and Tony will be tag teaming that that presentation. Then we have a series of code amendments that is being proposed by Public Works. Bruce Mills will be providing those updates. And then the final item on our agenda today is the stormwater update, and Martin Nelson will be providing that to the group. So with that, I'll turn it over to Tony, and we'll start with the energy code update.
There we go. Good morning, everybody. For those who haven't met me, I'm Tony Estoya. I'm the building official for the City of Kennewick, and happy to have you with us today. I'm going to cover just the changes that we can cover today about the Washington State Energy Code and how it's changed. We have some questions I started off with was, how has it changed? How do we comply with these changes? What tools are available for those changes? And who do we turn to for answers with our energy code questions? It's probably the biggest question of all. Who do we turn to? So next slide, please. How has it changed? Well, as you know, credits are required for residential construction, and the amount of credits required in 2018 code has been raised now. A typical single family dwelling will require 6 credits. And credits are earned by selecting and installing specific hardware or systems in the house that improve the energy efficiency of the home. Available credits and their associated values have been modified as well. So from 15 to 18, the value that these credits have been given, or the value that these items have been given, has changed, and many have been added and some have been removed from the list. So those are some of the significant changes. And there's new forms, as usual with the new code. There's new forms have been created for reporting those credits, and they are available on our website. They're not up to date. I think they'll be up by tomorrow, those forms. So when they're up, we'll be able to take a look at them. They're a little too complex to put on the screen here today. They'd be almost impossible to read in a presentation like this. So next slide, please. How do we comply with these codes? One thing that we've determined after looking at the codes is that the planning for your energy code compliance has to start at the beginning of the design process, because these components are becoming more and more integrated into the home. In the past, we've had the ability to add things on or to up an installation value. Those simple solutions are still there, but there's more that has to be done than we were doing in the years past. So I strongly recommend looking at designs and seeing where can we incorporate these, and literally from the ground up, from the foundation up, there's options that can earn you credits and you want to design them in. As you select and integrate those selected credits, they need to be shown on the plan set for our review purposes. So we make sure everything's there. So we ask that you provide us with good details on your plans about the equipment that's going in, any of the systems you're installing, installation values and types all need to be listed as usual. The more information you can give us during the plan review process, the more streamlined we can make that process. So if you provide us with good info, we can get good results. And then the selected credit options will also have to be reported on your residential energy code worksheet, which is a document that's completed for the submittal and shows us what you're planning to do. We will have one up on our website tomorrow. It's a complete page for your plan set that includes all of the energy code documentation and also places for you to place your cut sheets for your equipment. So you won't have to create your own page. Your architect or designer can simply download this page, incorporate his information, and insert it into his plan set. That's all pre-made and it's all fillable. So I think if they try it, they're going to like it. It's been successful with those who have used it so far. We find it really streamlines the design process. So next page, next slide, please. So what tools are available? I covered part of that already, but the city has several tools available on our website at thegotokennewick.com. You can download the 2018 worksheet from our application and forms page. I believe that'll be up either by later today or tomorrow. We just haven't quite got it there. It's done, just not on the website yet. Will be. And we provide you a direct link to all building codes within the city website. If you go to our website, you can access all of the International Code Council's codes, as well as the plumbing code, energy code, are all available there. It's free and you can access them online. So if you have any code questions and you want to take a look at the code, it's available from our website. So that should help. I think that helped. I've got a lot of thanks for putting that up. It's been updated and the 15 code was there. The 18's up now. And all of the ICC codes are available from that site. And the ones you'll look at for us will include the Washington State amendments. So any of the amendments that the state has made to the code are hard baked into the code books you'll be looking at on the ICC website. So you don't need to have two references when you're doing that. So at that point, what's your best source of information? You're welcome to call us and ask any questions, of course. That's what we're here for. Email us. We're happy to do that. Thank you very much for moving the page. My recommendation, however, is there's two very good agencies that provide extremely good information who we turn to when we have questions in the energy code. And it's for residential. It's the WSU Energy Program, available by phone or by on their website. And I have found that their response time is less than a day when I ask a question. Often within an hour or two, they'll get back to you. You can imagine they're lightly staffed and probably have a tremendous amount of questions coming through. So I found them to be very, very helpful. Or for non-residential construction, there's Evergreen Technologies. Again, an outside agency that is considered one of the experts on non-residential energy code questions. I found them, again, to be just a wealth of knowledge and more than willing to help. Extremely helpful when it comes to getting questions answered. I recommend them because if you call us and we don't know the answer, this is who we turn to find the answer to the energy code. So they're available to everyone. And I suggest if you have any questions, use us, use them. Both work really well. And with that, that's all I have. I'm going to turn it back to Greg if there's any questions on the energy code.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any hands raised right now. I'll cruise back through the list. But I don't see any questions at this point in time. Hopefully I'm not missing something. So with that, why don't we move on to our next item, which will be Anthony providing an update relative to our Shoreline Master Program.
Morning, everybody. I'm going to give a brief very brief update to our Shoreline Master Program update. As you may know, local jurisdictions are required to have a Shoreline Master Program. If they have any shorelines or waters of statewide significance in their jurisdiction. We have the Columbia River, so the city of Kennewick has a shoreline master program that was last updated in 2009. And the RCW requires us to update those every 8 years. And our update is due at the end of June of this year. And we're focusing solely on basic amendments to keep the program current with changes in state law that have occurred since the last update. The process that we've gone through is we've held a workshop, we've held with the Planning Commission and with the City Council. We held an open house towards the end of last year. And we are currently in the midst of our 30-day joint public comment period with the Department of Ecology. That comment period will end on May 6th. And following the ending of that, we'll take in all the comments, address those, and we will apply to the Department of Ecology for an initial determination from them. We'll hold a city council meeting for them to make a decision on the amendments, and then we'll submit our application to Ecology for our final determination. And are hoping for a very quick final approval from them without having to make any changes. The shoreline, the SMP regulates everything within 200 feet of the shoreline. And for the city of Kennewick, most of that is in Columbia Park. And then the areas that are outside of Columbia Park, most of that area is federally owned land between private property and the levee. So it doesn't apply to too much. It applies to Clover Island. It applies to some areas near there. And as you go a little bit further east, there are some private property owners who are affected by this, but really it comes down to mainly public projects are the ones that are having to really dig into the SMP and comply with its regulations outside of our main customers, which is the yacht club and their boathouse replacements that have been going on for several years. So like I said, it doesn't affect too much of the development that occurs in the city. So I just wanted to give you a brief overview of what we've been working on. But the amendments are minor, and we're hoping that it goes right through when we get to the end with Ecology. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have on the SMP if there are any.
Again, I'm scrolling through our participant list or attendee list. I don't see any hands raised. So hopefully, again, I'm not missing something. I just cruised up and down the list. So with that, Anthony, why don't we roll right into the permit software update presentation?
Sure. So as some of you may be aware, the city of Kennewick's been working on a replacement to our current permit software. We've been working on that for over a year. It's been a lengthy process, but one that we're hopeful will be much better for us and much better for you. And so this is a screenshot of what our self-service portal will look like, or CSS. We refer to it internally as CSS. It's our customer service self-service portal. And so you'll see a page that looks like this going live in July. And we're really looking forward to that in hopes that it will streamline some of the things that we're doing and make things easier for you. So some of what is going to change or is changing, or what this software will provide, is you'll be able to not only apply online like you do right now, but you won't get a separate email to upload your documents. You'll be able to upload them as part of your application process, and you'll be able to pay in the same place. You'll be able to apply by address, parcel number, or by searching our GIS map and starting a permit from the parcel that you select on the map. There will be multiple contacts per application allowed. And so that's one thing that we have heard, over and over again is, a property owner may hire somebody, an engineer or an architect to work for them, but that engineer or architect doesn't want to be the applicant, or they don't want to pay for it themselves. They want that, their client to pay for it. And so juggling that has been an issue, with having to apply online, especially during the pandemic. With this new software, the engineer or the architect can apply, the owner then logs in, they set the owner as a contact, the owner can log in, pay for the permit or the application. And I guess that kind of solves that issue there. But so I really like that, and I know from talking to some of the developers and the people that we work with that they have really wanted something like that for a while. So we're looking forward to that enhancement. You'll be able to see all your applications in one place. Anything that you're tied to, that you're a contact on, you'll be able to see in one place. You can follow the status of your review online, and you'll receive notifications when your project's approved, when a resubmittal is required, different things like that. And so we wanted to give you, this is a video from the city of Boulder who uses the same software program, and we're creating some videos similar to this that will help walk people through the process. And this will give you an example of what it'll be like to apply online for a permit once we're live.
Welcome to the City of Boulder's Land Management, Permitting, and Licensing Customer Self-Service Portal known as CSS. I'm going to show you how to apply for a permit online. Once logged in, begin by selecting Apply from the top navigation bar. The Permits drop-down menu will appear as a list of our most popular permits. To view the entire list of permitting options, select All from the list. Scroll down to find the permit you would like to apply for. When you find it, click Apply. Click the Add Location tile to enter location details for your permit. You may enter your address in the search bar to select from a list. Once the address populates, click Add. You will notice you now have an address under Locations. You also now have the option to Save Draft. Clicking this will save your progress, and you can return to finish your permit application at a time that is convenient to you. If you are ready to continue, click Next. Enter a description for the permit you are applying for. Please include any relevant information on the project. You can see I have entered the project details for my roofing permit. When you are finished, click Next. On the Contacts page, you will need to enter the contact information for the contractor that will be doing the work for the permit you are submitting. Contractors must hold a current, valid contractor license with the City of Boulder. If you receive an error message for a selected contractor, their license or certificate may be expired. Please contact the contractor directly to ensure that they have a valid City of Boulder license. To add a contractor, click the Add Contact tile under the appropriate heading. You can search for your contractor by name or company name. When you find your contractor, click Add. Your contractor information will appear. Click Next. On the More Info page, read the bolded statement and check the box to agree to provide accurate project information. Please enter all required information marked with a red asterisk and highlighted in red. Any additional information you can provide is always helpful. Click Next. On the Attachments page, you can either click Add or drag and drop your PDF files. Today, I'm going to drag and drop the PDF I want to attach. When you are finished, click Next. From here, you can review that the information you have entered is correct. If you need to edit any information, click the back button. When you are ready, click Submit. Your permit has been submitted. You will notice at the top that you now have a permit number. You will receive a notification email when your permit has been approved. Thank you for viewing this video. We appreciate your business with the City of Boulder.
All right, so hopefully that gives you a feel of what that's going to look like. Obviously, there are things in there that were very specific to the City of Boulder. And so ours will be, of course, specific to the City of Kennewick, our requirements and our processes. But the look and feel will be very similar. And so we're excited for that. We just ask that you have patience with us as we work through that when we launch it. It's a learning process for us as it will be for you. And we want to be available and we're ready and be ready to help you when that time comes. So with that, I think if there are no questions, we can move on to our next slide.
Okay, and I think
And-
Bruce Mills is going to be first presenter for the Public Works section.
Yes, good morning. Could I have the next slide, please? I'm going to go over two proposed amendments to our Kennewick Municipal Code. They've been a couple of trouble areas for, I think, both developers and for the city. So the first one that I want to go over is we have right now currently different requirements for plats, short plats, and binding site plans as far as what the construction improvements are to be completed for plat approval or binding site plan approval. So it's created an issue there. The second issue is that at times everyone's rushing in the fall trying to get everything completed so that we can get the final plat done so they can start building homes during the winter. And it sometimes leads to paving under bad conditions. And in the past, we have not allowed bonding for paving, but we are going to consider that for cold weather conditions moving forward. Could I have the next slide, please? So again, the solutions that we're proposing are to make the language in the plats, the short plats, the binding site plans, all the same. And also then to allow for bonding if you can't get your paving done before October 1st of the year. And just to show this chart that we have, which we've had for a few years, but to submit for your final plat, you have to have your utilities installed. To schedule then for a council approval of a plat, the curb gutter and any gravel needs to be completed, along with giving us the easements that we need. And now the big one is for us to sign the plat and for you to be able to then record that plat and move forward with selling lots and building. In the past, we still will require as-builts, that your bonding's in place, the other requirements on there, but we're adding in that paving can be bonded if you can't complete that before October 1st. So we think that'll be helpful to you. Recently, unfortunately, we actually had to have one development rip out the paving that was done under very cold weather conditions and just couldn't be accepted, couldn't be fixed. So before I move on, is there any questions on this particular binding site plan proposed? Not binding site plan, municipal code proposal. Okay, let's move on to the
Yeah,
next.
Bruce, I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Okay, well, next slide, please.
We do have one question from Caleb
Yeah, we do have
Stromstad.
a question.
Okay, Caleb. Are you there, Caleb?
I think you're unmuted at this end, Caleb. Check you on your end to see if you're still muted.
while I'm waiting for Kayla, but let me just add this. So what it means is if you get to the fall and you can't get your paving in, what we will require though is that all the gravel has to be brought up, the curb gutter has to be in, the gravel there. Your water system has to be functional, because if you're going to start building on those lots, we have to have an ability to have fire safety and be able to put out any fires there. Also, we would ask that at that point, it'll require that you put your put up barricades and only allow construction access through there, and that you protect any vaults, any valves, manholes, catch basins that might be out in that gravel, so that they don't have any damage or intrusion from the gravel through the winter until you pave in the next spring. With that, Caleb, have you been able to join us? If not, I can ask for questions at the end. Should we move forward? Let's go to the next slide.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Caleb actually emailed his question to me.
Oh, okay.
That to you.
Fire away.
Can we pave after October 1st if conditions are favorable?
Yes, you may. This is really for if you know, it'll be on a case by case, obviously, but if you can meet the requirements for temperature, then you still can pave after October 1st. We're just allowing for the option that when it starts to turn cold and it's very iffy, that we don't want you to pave if it's not going to create a satisfactory product. Hope that answers that. Because yeah, we could get an Indian summer and have great weather in October, and the opposite could happen. So let me move on to this second proposed requirement, and this has to do with frontage improvements. And currently, we've had some plats that have only extended water and sewer until they get to the first street into the plat, and then they've taken all of their improvements into the plat and not finished extending the water and sewer across the full frontage. This has caused a lot of problems, both for the people that go to the next property next to them and want to put water and sewer in front of them. They have to go back and go across the first developer's property, extend it all the way across their property before they can then keep extending it across their own property. The second thing is that when developments only go in like to the first street and don't extend their utilities across the whole frontage, but they still have to put their street improvements in, their curb gutter and sidewalk and pavement widening, then for that next property to extend, they have to go out there and tear up a perfectly good road and patch it. And neither of those is desirable for us. So if I could have the next slide, please. What we are proposing is to adopt the exact same frontage requirements and language as the city of Richland has in place today, so that you're required to extend utilities across your full frontage with your development. Your development may be phased and you'll be able to extend through each phase, but what we want is that, you know, in the end, that when a property is developed, that the water and sewer utilities are extended across the frontage, and we want to be able to apply this consistently. Next slide, please. So, and I'll certainly answer questions regarding that, but I also want to point out here that if you go to the city's webpage and go onto the Public Works page, besides seeing Carrie Rowe's smiling face there on that page, you can see that I've circled, I have the proposed language of the KMCs there for you to review. Just to let you know, this has been reviewed internally by staff, but you are the first group other than staff that will be able to see these proposed changes. We've not taken them to the council. I'm asking that in the next 3 weeks, roughly, that you send any feedback to me, call me or email me, and I'd be happy to get your input after you've been able to read the exact wording that we're proposing. So with that, I'll ask if there are any questions on either one of the amendments that I've brought forward.
Yeah, Bruce, I'm not seeing any hands raised at this point. I'll cruise back up through the list one more time. So no, I don't see any questions or hands raised at this point.
Okay, well, again, please give me your feedback after you've been able to read these proposed KMC changes, and thank you for your participation.
Okay, now I believe Martin is up to talk about some stormwater comprehensive plan amendments.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Right. All right. So I'm here to talk about the 2020 comprehensive plan update that we did. But I'm going to talk about two other items briefly as we go through this. Next slide. The first thing I want to talk about is to reiterate that the city of Kennewick has an NPDES, or National Pollution Discharge Elimination System permit for stormwater management. There are two items that matter to this particular group. Anthony, go ahead and advance the slide one more. Those two items are highlighted here: construction site stormwater runoff control and post-construction stormwater management. It's the responsibility of an owner or developer that's doing work on a site to design and build the site meeting city, state, and national water quality rules. The second piece of that, which is something that you're also responsible for, is to set the conditions for after construction, where the owner can then do the other piece, and that's post-construction stormwater management. They need to be able to clean and maintain, inspect, and report as needed for their system. So as we go through plan reviews, you'll see me ask questions, and we'll talk about things like that. But please keep in mind that we need your help in setting the conditions for the ongoing maintenance of private sites. Next slide. So looking at the comprehensive plan, it's intended to be a tool to help you as you develop the scope for your project, or you're trying to do some project planning. There's soils maps. We've identified drainage basins so you can understand where your project fits into the city's bigger picture. We have a number of useful links as well. Next slide. As a part of this process, we went through and ranked our stormwater needs in the city. Came up with a prioritized list. Next slide. This comprehensive plan then has a project list out to and beyond 2030. Next slide. As a part of the process, we also looked at some other tools. We went through some of our best management practices and standards and specifications that we have here at the city, did some updates, and then I think later this year, we're hoping to add a few more tools to help clarify some things. Next slide. One of the other products that we did as a part of this process was we advanced the stormwater master plan for the Bob Olson corridor. Several years ago, we worked with PBS to come up with a master plan, and that went a long ways to help identify where the needs were in this corridor. But we realized that we wanted to know a little bit more and try and help coordinate all of the development that is moving very quickly through this area. So we worked with Aspect Consulting to make an addendum to that master plan, which went a little further in doing some additional testing, and we identified more specifically not just where we thought the ponds would go, but we did some pond sizing and even came up with some estimates. The intent here is that as development moves through this corridor, all the various developers have a few more tools when they're reaching out to each other to try and come up with a coordinated plan. Next slide. The other thing that we did was we put our comprehensive plan on a diet. So if you decide to peruse through our comprehensive plan, it's much easier reading. Next slide. One of the other things that I wanted to talk about with this group today was the idea of the tools that are available and the problems that we can get into both at the city, the engineer, and the developer group as we look at these various project sites. The National Resource Conservation Service does a great job of providing soils information. They have maps online, and there's a lot of really good information there. Unfortunately, the depth isn't as deep as it always needs to be. Anthony, I'm going to have you start slowly advancing through this slide. So as an example, keep going, Anthony. As an example here, if you look at doing some surface infiltration, next, and you start looking at what is underneath that surface infiltration, what we call vadose zone, which is the distance between the bottom of the infiltration structure and either groundwater or an impervious layer. It's the zone that the water is going to go to once it leaves the facility. But you may have enough vadose zone to deal with your infiltration. Next, okay. And then Anthony, go ahead and advance through the next few. Let's look at infiltration trench vadose zones and drywall vadose zones. As you see there, the material that is underneath that material, that the information provided by NRCS, it quickly becomes a good place to start, but it's not enough information to really figure out what's going on under there. Next slide. So looking at that in a bigger picture, one of the things the city of Kennewick asked is to do infiltration tests, location and depth of the known infiltration site. Let's say that you did a test on a particular site and you decided that you do have a clear vadose zone. Well, that's great. Let's walk through what it looks like on a hillside. Next. So if you have existing ground, some tests. Next slide. At some point, the engineer has to come up with what the site is going to look like. He has to figure out where the streets are going to be, where all the pad sites for the homes are going to be. Next slide. But you can't dig forever. And so at some point, you are going to have some unknown material. It may be viable for infiltration or it may not. Next. So if you insert a dry well into this scenario, and if there is solid ground underneath there, a basalt layer or clay or caliche or something, the water may start migrating horizontally. If you were to build a home, in some areas, it may be okay. In other areas, it may not. Water may enter the basement or settle the foundation or enter a dry well at the next site, or it may enter the utility trenches in the next street. So this is the reason why we asked you guys to do infiltration testing. You guys are doing it, and it's great. As you guys move into the hills, if you started doing some design work out there, you may have worked with us and found that we have been asking you to show us what you think is under the ground and how that might affect what is happening in the cross section of your design on the hillside. So I appreciate you guys continuing to work to find out what's under the ground out there on the hillsides in the city of Kennewick so that we can reduce or maybe even completely avoid the challenges that comes from groundwater movement. Next slide. There are a series of web links here on the slide. We've provided quite a few web links on the City of Kennewick's website under Public Works and Stormwater. There's some great resources out there, Washington State Department of Ecology. And I wanted to put a quick plug in for the work that the Franklin Conservation District is doing. They're doing a bunch of work in our schools teaching children how to manage stormwater and do good stuff. And with that, I wanted to throw one other statement out about the fact that later this year, we're going to officially move to the 2019 Stormwater Management Manual for Eastern Washington. You can use either the 7 or the 19 today. 2019 version is much easier to use. So if you haven't taken a look at that yet, I encourage you to do so. Next slide. Are there any questions?
Hey, Martin, I'm scrolling up and down the attendee list, and Melinda, I don't see anything. Have I missed any hands?
I'm not seeing any hands.
Okay.
One just
Oh,
jumped
I
up.
see one. We have Melissa McCoy. And
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so we had a quick question about the beginning online process that will take place this fall, right? If we as architects need to submit for plan review and we don't have a selected contractor yet, is that going to kick us out of the system and not let us complete the process?
Melissa, is your question for the new permit software part of the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, maybe Anthony or Tony can provide you an answer on that.
I know on the planning side, as far as the planning applications, there's only a limited number of things that are required, an applicant and the owner. And then what's optional are engineers or architects if they're applying in that way. I'm not sure how the building permits are set up. Maybe Tony can answer that as far as whether or not they require a contractor at submittal.
We do not require a contractor at submittal, but we will require one prior to issuance. You need to have a contractor on the permit. But you can submit and go through the entire process, which is quite common because a lot of companies don't want to go out for bid until the plans have been approved. So they're actually looking at approved plans. So yes, you get through the whole process. We just need the contractor prior to issuance.
The same thing goes for the civil permit having to do with water, sewer, utilities, and work in the street.
Did that answer your question, Melissa?
Yes, it did. We just wanted to make sure that we were able to still proceed in the way we have been.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Are there any other questions of any of our presenters today? Okay, I'm not seeing any additional questions. Any other comments from or feedback from city staff before we start to wrap up?
I just wanted to add one thing to Melissa's question. I think you'll find when we go to the new software, there'll be less restrictions than you encountered with what we currently use. It's a lot more user-friendly, and I consider it quite a bit more flexible in many ways. So I think you'll be happy when you get an opportunity to use it.
Yeah, I think it'll be a vast improvement over
No doubt.
the system that we have in place today, which was really not meant to be a permit tracking or permitting software. It was pretty much custom made by a couple of city staff who did a great job to get it to where it would actually function. But moving over to this new software package, I think will definitely be a noticeable improvement in process and in the ability to apply and get things done online. Okay, Marie, did you have any final comments or anything you'd like to say before we wrap up?
Thanks, Greg. I would like to just, we've asked if there's any questions relating to what we presented. Are there any ideas and suggestions that the attendees have? We've got quite a few people that are in the development community and home builder community, and certainly would love to hear any suggestions that any of them may have for us, or ideas or things that they would like us to consider. And I know, again, this is a very awkward forum, but if we can get some dialogue, that would be really great.
And in addition, if you think of something after today, please feel free to email us with those suggestions on what topics would be interesting for you at a future forum. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands. Carrie, any final comments?
No, not for me.
Okay. All right. Well, again, thank you all for attending this morning. We appreciate the partnership once again, as Marie's pointed out. It's been a little awkward, but I think we've been able to move forward relatively painless under the current circumstances, and hopefully things will improve, obviously, as we move later into the year. Thank you for your time and attention, and we hope you have a great rest of your day today.
Thank you, everyone.